I've worked for the agency right at 28 and a half years. I pretty much started, probably about a year or so after college. I came here and I interviewed at the Girls Cottage and they hired me. I was like, wow, this is kind of neat, working with kids. I mean, I didn't know anything about them, and that's what kind of just led me to the agency. Division Youth Service likes to promote from within. And so as I worked a few years, I started looking around for other things I wanted to do in the agency. I went in for interviews and I got a promotion, and then I worked for a few more years and got another promotion. Our kids, Division Youth Services, basically our kids are court appointed. They've been through the judicial system, and the courts have assigned with the Division of Youth Services. And that is for, they've broken the law. Our ages are usually from 13 to 17, and a lot of our kids haven't had the opportunity or the resources to go to school or to get back into school. I couldn't believe the things that DYS was doing. I didn't know anything about the agency, but I was really impressed that they were big on education and that we didn't treat them like they were criminals. We treated them like they were kids who had some struggles and some challenges. As you see, if you come on this campus, there's not a fence. The way we keep young people here is through relationships. You know, where you build relationships is you gotta talk to kids. You gotta be there. You got a role model. We're not trying to intimidate kids. We're not trying to threaten kids. We're just trying to talk to kids. Now, we're not trying to be their buddies either, but we're open and honest with kids. For me, there were just so many opportunities to work with kids. Whatever you can think of to help the young people within policy, we want to try. And I just thought that was great when I first started. You're like, wait a minute, you give me 12 kids and I can go home and think of ideas and bring this to meetings and talk about it, and someone to say, hey, let's greenlight that, let's try it. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. And for a 23, 24-year-old to feel that kind of responsibility, you know, it was empowering. I'd like being able to do something different every day. You know, because you're not working with a computer, you're not working with machinery, you're working with young adults. I'm getting paid to wear khaki pants or maybe shorts and go outside and play softball with kids. Now the 4 to 12 staff, when I was a youth specialist, was my favorite shift because you can create so many things. I mean, it can be as simple as, like, when I work with the boys, just teaching young men how to tie a tie. You know, and that's a skill that they're going to need out in the community. What I really enjoy, once a year we have our graduation ceremony for kids who got their high school diploma or their GED. And the kids are dressed up and their parents come, and you get to see these kids who never thought they would, who never even seen a graduation before, walk across the stage. You'll have kids and parents come up and hug you and say, he or she is the first person in my family to ever graduate high school. And you're knowing that that child has got an opportunity for a future. You gotta believe that these young people can change. I mean, if you don't believe that they can change, I don't know how you do this job. It would be, for me, it'd be too hard. If you think these kids are always gonna steal cars or be in gangs and they're not gonna do any better, this place is not for you. Division of Youth Services, to me, is kind of great because we get to see the end product. We get to see a young person who's maybe struggling till 8, 9 months, maybe a year later, now has got their GED. Maybe they've got their high school. Maybe they're going off to the service. They're getting ready to start a new life. You are making a difference in some young person's life. And that young person's got siblings, or maybe that young person eventually has a child. So you're affecting a lot more than you realize. So if you want to make change in people's lives, this is a place to start.